Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. Do you want to learn more about mindfulness and how to do meditation? There is a lot to learn about mindfulness and how to incorporate it into our lives, and wherever you go, there you are. It's a one-of-a-kind program because it caters to both those who are new to meditation and those who have been practicing for years. If you're curious but don't necessarily want a structured program, it's a useful tool. Or maybe you're just looking for some information to help you put things together on your own, as well as getting some suggestions and ideas along the way. There's a lot of confusion about what mindfulness is, and Jon Kabat-Zinn, the founding father of modern mindfulness, is here to clear things up for us. Emeritus Professor of Medicine at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, Jon Kabat-Zinn is known for his work in mindfulness-based stress reduction. At the University of Massachusetts, he established the Stress Reduction Clinic, which he now directs. Thich Nhat Hanh and other renowned Buddhist teachers have taught him about stress reduction and mindfulness, and he conducts workshops. Definitions of the term mindfulness will be briefly discussed here. Here are some ideas on how to put this ancient practice into practice. His goal is to make mindfulness more accessible to Westerners by integrating it with scientific research. We can learn to be more mindful in our daily lives by learning more about what mindfulness entails and what it isn't. In what state of mind are you? How many times have you read a page of a book, only to arrive at the end with no idea of what you've just finished reading? When we sit down to write, our minds tend to wander to the next meal or the conversation we had with our boss the previous day. The point is that we're rarely in the here and now. Despite the fact that our bodies may be in the here and now, our minds are frequently somewhere else. When we think of a beach, we imagine soaking up the sun and the sea breeze, but we're actually working in an office, staring at our computers. Stories about the past or an uncertain future fill our heads with dread. Mental time travel is common, but we rarely slow down and appreciate the present moment as it unfolds. Kabat-Zinn says we live in a fog-enshrouded state, and if we're not careful, these cloudy moments can stretch out and become the majority of our lives if we're not careful. Our waking state of consciousness is considered to be severely limited by the Buddhist perspective. We're more dreamy than awake most of the time. As a result, we aren't completely in touch with ourselves and with the present moment. And we pay a high price for it, too. As a result, we miss out on the richness of the present moment and lose touch with our identity and the possibilities that are available to us. Unappreciated time passes by unnoticed over the course of months or even years. When we lose touch with the present moment, we begin to feel trapped and disconnected. I wonder what it would be like if we had the ability to reawaken. Meditation is an ancient practice that has a profound relevance to our current lives. It is possible to wake up to the present moment and reconnect with our own wisdom and vitality through mindfulness. As simple as it may appear at first glance, mindfulness has the power to transform your life for the better. Paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment and non-judgmentally, is how Kabat-Zinn defines mindfulness. Focusing on the here and now helps cultivate greater awareness, clarity, and acceptance of the here and now. Mindfulness, according to Kabat-Zinn, is simply the art of conscious living. To practice it, he says, you don't need to be a Buddhist or a yogi. Buddhist teaching emphasizes the importance of remaining true to oneself rather than attempting to be something we're not. When I was a Buddhist, it drove my parents and friends crazy, one of Kabat-Zinn's once said, but when I am a Buddha, nobody is upset at all. Buddhist mindfulness training emphasizes connecting with and letting go of one's deepest self. It's about waking up and seeing things as they really are, says Kabat-Zinn. When a person is referred to as Buddha, they mean someone who has realized their true nature. Despite its Buddhist origins, mindfulness is compatible with all faiths and philosophical perspectives. It's not a new belief system or ideology that's being pushed on us. There's no attempt to sell us anything. Through an organized process of self-observation, self-inquiry, and mindful action, we can become more aware of our true nature. Here we go, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of mindfulness. Be present and focused on one thing at a time. Mindfulness relies heavily on the ability to focus one's attention. In English, the Sanskrit word bhavana means meditation, but it also refers to cultivation. Meditation is a method for improving our ability to pay attention and be fully present in the present moment. The ability to focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else is not something that most of us are naturally good at. Recall your days in elementary or secondary school. On how many occasions have you been admonished to pay attention? When it comes to paying attention, It's possible that no one ever taught you how. He believes that most people assume that attentive awareness and focused concentration is something that comes naturally and does not require any additional training. Most of us don't learn how to pay attention in a way that helps us anchor ourselves in the here and now and calm our minds. In Kabat-Zinn's the ability to focus on one thing is a mark of happiness. We can strengthen our concentration muscles by noticing when our minds wander, and bringing them back to a single point of focus. As a result of this new technology, we are able to step away from negative thoughts and anxieties about the future. When we focus all of our attention on a single thing or a single moment, our energy is focused in that direction. This world and everything in it vanishes in the presence of God. This often results in a sense of calm and serenity. Meditation, on the other hand, isn't all about concentration. It is important to practice in a positive way, using both mindfulness and heartfulness. Gentle, appreciative, and nurturing are all qualities that should be reflected in the mindfulness experience. There are many ancient Asian languages where mindfulness and heartfulness mean the same thing, according to Kabat-Zinn. Patience, non-judgment, acceptance, letting go, and generosity are some of the qualities of the heart that we bring to our practice. We tend to categorize the thoughts and feelings that pass through our heads and assign them to one of two categories, good or bad. Anxiety, craving, or distaste for things in our immediate environment can become a way of life. It's better to accept things as they are rather than pass judgment. Instead of a passive resignation to the realities we face, acceptance is a conscious acceptance of the way things are. Meditation expert Jon Kabat-Zinn reminds us of a prayer from the Serenity Prayer: God grant me serenity to accept what I cannot change, courage to change what I can, and wisdom to discern the difference. The practice of letting go is an important part of non-judgment and acceptance. Allowing ourselves to let go is the opposite of resisting the things we don't want. It's not easy to let go and let be, especially if we're carrying around a lot of pain and resentment. Mindfulness relies on the virtue of patience, which is constantly put to the test in today's fast-paced world. Whether in line at the grocery store, waiting for an email response, or waiting for someone to finally apologize, we spend a lot of our lives waiting. Let's turn to the Dalai Lama for advice when patience begins to wear thin. Although Chinese authorities have used violence against Tibetans, the Dalai Lama has allowed himself to practice patience and understanding. Empathy, not anger, was his response to what was happening to his fellow Tibetans. It's like grabbing a piece of hot coal and throwing it at our enemy. We're going to get burned. If someone takes something from you, don't let them take your mind with them, says Kabat-Zinn. Anger is a sign of impatience. Instead of reacting, we can practice responding in a way that benefits both ourselves and others by remembering that wisdom is found in patience. When we learn to accept and be patient with ourselves, we find that we have more energy to give to others. Finding and using our unique gifts to serve others is made easier through regular meditation practice. Here are some practical ways to incorporate meditation into our daily routines. Formal and informal mindfulness practice. To practice mindfulness, we don't need a fancy cushion or a secluded island. Taking a few minutes out of our day, finding a quiet place, and committing to a daily mindful practice are all that is required. You can't use mindfulness to solve any problems, think positively, or achieve any goals during your practice. Step out of the doing mode and into the being mode here. Our bodies, the breath, and the sensations we feel at any given time are the primary focus of our attention during this time. Kabat-Zinn refers to it as homecoming, in which we return to ourselves and the here and now. You don't have to put yourself through the agony of torturing yourself in a lotus position in order to practice sitting meditation. We can use a chair or a cushion to prop ourselves up, but the most important thing is to sit upright in a way that makes us feel present but not slouched in our chair. When we sit down to meditate, our posture tells us something about ourselves. Slouching is a sign of inertia, laziness, and a lack of focus. The problem is that when we sit with our backs straight and our shoulders hunched, we're tense. A lot of people have a hard time deciding what the correct way to meditate is. Sit in a way that embodies dignity, Kabat-Zinn advises. Everybody seems to instantly know this inner feeling of dignity and how to embody it, he claims. Sitting comfortably allows us to focus on the most fundamental aspect of our lives, our breath. And if our thoughts do stray, as they almost always do, we simply bring our attention back to our breathing. We'll have to keep doing this over and over. We can anchor ourselves in the present moment by returning to a simple focus on our breath. The question that many people have is, how much time should be set aside for formal practice? Morning meditation is a personal priority for our author, who schedules 45 minutes each day. It's up to each of us how long we devote to formal meditation, however. We can practice mindfulness while sitting, standing, walking, or even lying down if the idea of sitting still, especially for longer periods, seems too difficult. Body scans can be done while laying down. Aiming to fall awake to the body and its shifting sensations isn't a goal here, but rather a means to achieve it. Kabat-Zinn reminds us that there is no one-size-fits-all meditation method. The best strategy is one that feels right to you, so follow these steps as a general guideline. There is a domino effect when it comes to formal practices. We learn how to incorporate mindfulness into our everyday lives through formal practices. Let's use the example of climbing the stairs as an example of an activity that we perform on autopilot. On a stairwell, most of us tend to rush up and down in a careless manner. What if we climbed the stairs with awareness? It would be interesting to notice which part of our foot made contact with the next step first. Each step's cold surface was also apparent. By doing so, we might be able to observe how our arms move and how our knees feel when we bend them. Slowing down and taking things one step at a time is the goal, in order to cultivate a greater sense of presence and awareness. The practice of mindfulness serves as a gentle reminder to live each day to the fullest extent possible. There is no place or moment you need to sacrifice to be fully present in this one, writes our author. The following are some of the most common roadblocks and how to overcome them. Don't misinterpret ease for simplicity. Do you know what selfing is? This way of thinking keeps us focused on we, and adds the concept of, to all of our actions. Suddenly, everything is my experience or my perspective. Paraphrase, mindfulness helps us realize that we don't have to personalize everything, and that everything is impermanent and in flux. Wouldn't it be interesting to sit on the banks of our own thought stream for a little while, instead of being immersed in it? Our thoughts flow constantly, leaving us with little time for inner quiet, as if they were a constant stream. When we allow our subconscious thoughts, feelings, and impulses to influence our actions, we often end up in places we don't want. Meditation is the practice of removing oneself from the churning waters and establishing oneself along the bankside. Observing ourselves from the bankside, we can hear and learn from our thoughts without attaching any value to them. This allows us to access a more expansive state of mind within ourselves. We can train ourselves to see that there are always a variety of options available to us. Taking things personally isn't always necessary, and we have the option to act instead of just reacting. Relaxation or self-improvement are often conflated with the practice of mindfulness and meditation. It's not about getting somewhere or becoming a certain type of person to practice mindfulness. To put it another way, mindfulness helps us get a clearer picture of the areas of our lives that we are either unaware of or unwilling to contemplate. With regular mindfulness practice, we can get in touch with many aspects of our lives that we've been neglecting or have completely forgotten about. As a result, we should expect to experience strong emotions like grief, sadness, hurt, rage, and fear. These are feelings that we often avoid expressing or allowing ourselves to feel. Despite how difficult it may be to feel these difficult emotions, it is essential to do so. Because we can't have the good feelings if we ignore the difficult ones. When we practice mindfulness, we are able to appreciate the fleeting and barely acknowledged deep feelings of joy, peace, and happiness. Practicing mindfulness is a rewarding and enlightening endeavor. Changing our perspective on ourselves and our place in the world is one of its many benefits. As a final point, it's possible that some of us have been practicing mindfulness for a long time, while others are neutral or skeptical about the practice. There is a book for everyone, no matter which camp we fall into. Wherever you go, there you are. Mindfulness, which is primarily a non-verbal experiential practice, is a topic on which our author draws from his own personal and professional experiences. Mr. Duffy is a character in James Joyce's novel A Painful Case. A short distance from Mr. Duffy's body, according to Joyce. All of us can learn from these words, and they represent the essence of this book. As the pace of our lives quickens and our reliance on technology increases, it's easy to feel cut off from our loved ones and life's most precious moments. The real art of living, in my opinion, is the ability to return to oneself and the present moment. In spite of its recent resurgence, mindfulness is an ancient and universal practice that is not a quick fix to feel better, but rather a deep, ongoing practice reminding us, wherever you go, there you are. Kabat-Zinn says that meditation is not the goal in itself. It's a tool for making the most of our time here on Earth. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.